Hey, what's up, podcast? It's Jeff, and you are listening to a special bonus episode of Teach Better Talk. This is audio pulled from one of our daily drop-ins. That's right, daily drop-ins are back every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time over on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. This is happening from November 23rd all the way to December 18th, so join us on any of the social media platforms. We are at Teach Better Team for our daily drop-ins. We're here to support you, answering questions, talking about fun stuff, bringing on special guests, anything you need, we're here for you. Join us for the daily drop-ins. Let's get into this special bonus episode. Enjoy.
Hey everyone, it's Rae from the Teach Better team, and I can just tell you, today is something special. We are going to be taking your questions for the daily drop-in, obviously, since we are live every single morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time for the daily drop-in. But today's a little special because we are celebrating something with the Dr. Dave Schmittou and joined by Bryan Zwemke as well. So let's get this started. Please use the comments, share where you're watching from, and we'll be back in a minute. Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to the Daily Drop-In. I am joined by two incredible guests, and we have a lot to celebrate. So, gentlemen, do you want to introduce yourselves? How you feeling? What's up?
I'm feeling ecstatic today, Rae. I really am. I mean, when you reached out to me, it was a week or two ago, and said, do you want to go live today to talk through this course and all the stuff? I said, absolutely. Is Jeff Gargas available? And you were like, no, Jeff's not available. And I said, is Chad available? And he said, no Chad. What about Kaylin? He said, no, but I know Bryan Zwemke doesn't have a life. I can probably get him to come on. So I am super, super excited to be sharing the screen today with Bryan and you. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, Bryan, thank you for joining us on the shenanigans of the Daily Drop-In. We appreciate it.
I'm officially the third wheel of the group this morning. Yeah.
No, let's be honest. You were invited first, Bryan.
Yeah. And Bryan, you've been a part of the Teach Better for a while, so I think this is very fitting that, you know, we're bringing you into the Daily Drop-In. We're going to have a little bit of fun, and we get to celebrate Dave Schmittou, who did something really cool today. So we brought you onto the Daily Drop-In to help us celebrate because we knew you're so much fun. That's really what it is.
You know, I am, as everybody knows, you know, pretty fun person. I'm like the guest, like at the end of like Jimmy Fallon, that just doesn't have enough time to get on. So, you know, maybe I could come back another day because Dave is here. Dr. Schmittou. Dr. Schmittou's got a new course.
I know. It's a big celebration.
I know.
Well, before we get into all that, because Dave, I know that you are only joining us for the beginning of the Daily Drop-In today. So thank you to those people who are already commenting, joining us live. We're currently streaming on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Twitch and everyone in between. But Dave, we really, really do want to take some time to celebrate you. Before we get into that, though, it'd be great, Bryan, if you wouldn't mind kicking us off, kind of sharing your background education. Who are you? Maybe this is the first time somebody in our audience is connecting with you. So let's hear about it.
Sure. So I'm Bryan Zwemke. I'm a building principal at a high school in Illinois. This is my 21st year in education. And been a part of, affiliated with the Teach Better team over the last couple of years, doing some good work with these guys, and they've made me such a better educator, you know, growing that professional learning network. I have been working at a high school the last couple of years, really having a great time. You know, even in a pandemic, a high school is a fun place to work. After working in a middle school for a long time. And just finished up my doctoral program myself, and that's kind of me right now.
I love it. Dave, I feel like everybody knows you, especially since we're live with the team about 17 times a week. If you guys are missing Dave live, by the way, Dave goes live truly 17 times, but especially on Wednesdays for so many shenanigans. How do you feel about that, Dave, that you're just on camera with shenanigans all the time?
I'm kind of like the court jester, I think is what it is. Like we just have some time to fill. I know, let's reach out to Dave.
No.
Let's do it. We just need to fill some space. No, but it's fun. I love it, just being able to hang out with all of you. And truly, I'm super excited to be able to hang out with Bryan. He and I have talked a few times and gotten to know each other a little bit more over the last, 6-7 months or so.
Yeah.
So when you told me that he was going to be on today, I was I was truly ecstatic. And just to see the potential, he and I have been in education the same length of time, 21 years. And to know that there's potential, if I were to shave this mess, maybe I could look as smooth as him. That gives me some hope. So, Bryan, thanks for filling me with some optimism today.
Moisturizer.
Oh
is that all it is? Moisturizer? Okay.
Yeah,
no lifts, no tucks, just moisturizer. Okay.
Well, I have to say, there's a lot of people commenting good morning. Everyone's very excited to celebrate the new course. I think the new course is so fitting, Dave, not only because you created it, but it's on leadership. And I was telling you right before we came live, Bryan Zwemke and I have worked together in a few different capacities, and I've learned a ton about leadership from you, Bryan. I don't mean to butter you up on camera, but truly so much. We've had so many educational conversations about, the school ecosystem and everything in between, that it's kind of fun to talk leadership with both of you. Dave, would you mind telling us, what is the course about? If it's a brand new course in the Academy, a lot of people woke up this morning already with it in their queue. What can they expect?
Yeah, so it's titled Leading by Empowering. But I don't want people to think that this is Dave Schmittou standing up on a soapbox saying, simply follow my ways, young lads and lasses, and you will learn all the ways of leadership. It's actually quite the opposite. I take you on a journey of a lot of the mistakes that I made when I first entered the realm of administration and leadership, thinking my job was to just make my catchphrase of itty bitty schmitties, to make people smaller versions of myself and to go out there and just make these mini replicas, stormtroopers, if you will. And it was a complete disaster. It was a complete mess. So I learned and I evolved that my role was to learn to lean into people, to listen to people more, to empower them to become the best versions of themselves. And that's what my leadership journey evolved into. And ultimately, that's what I'm trying to help other people do as well, is to learn how to tap into the potential of those that they serve so that they can step up and be the leaders that the school needs.
Bryan, what are your thoughts on that? I think that your stance on leadership is more like point and boss people around, right? Do you think that this is a good mentality?
That doesn't work really all that well. Teachers are amazing, but they're all pretty different. And I think I taught for 6 years, and I think this is year 15, 16 as a leader. It changes all the time because you have to recognize that you have to reach people in different ways. And just like as a classroom teacher reaches their group of 25 or 140 or 180 kids that they see, they're not all the same learners. They're not all the same way you are. And so you have to learn that some of them have these types of work habits, or some of them have these types of personality ways about doing things. And I think you learn over time that it doesn't matter how they get there if they're successful. That it doesn't have to be your way or your team's way or your superintendent's way or this. It just needs to work. And I think over time you kind of check your ego, and you have a plan, and that's good. You should have a vision as a leader, but that vision needs to be flexible for your teachers. So I think Dave hit it right on the head and how he designed his course.
Dave, one thing I really have loved about the course, because not spoiler alert, I got to see it early. I hate to brag, but it was so cool, Dave, watching this course develop and then obviously come to fruition with this big celebration. It's finally available for people at teachbetteracademy.com. But I really appreciated that the lens that you spoke through, obviously with your vast experience that you've had, Dave, but it really was something that as a classroom teacher myself, I took away so many skills. You talk about leadership doesn't mean that you have to have leadership in your title. I mean, there are so many different avenues that every educator, every person that works with students can be a leader. And I think that there are a lot of strategies in there that aren't exclusive to administration. Was that intentional, or was that just coincidental? Maybe the roles of a leader really are just this generalized.
Yeah, I think the latter half of your statement is probably more accurate. There's so much overlap. Honestly, when you make that leap and you get the nice leather chair and the mini fridge and coffee maker in your office, in a perfect situation, not much should change. You are still a teacher. You are still there to serve other people. You are still supposed to be
we have to know, do you have a mini fridge, Bryan? Like, is this a thing? You become a principal and you get a mini fridge?
I've never had a mini fridge. Sometimes I've had a Keurig in my office. But I am on a leather chair, but I didn't buy it. It came with the office.
I'm just saying, Dave, I know that you were going to be on a roll and share something very insightful, but I had to know about the mini fridge. So I still
Bryan already has it figured out. He's way more humble than I ever was, because as soon as I got the placard and they said, you are now officially the leader, I said, well, where's the fridge? I cannot move into that office without the fridge. So my secretary went on a mission and bought me the fridge. And then I said, okay, now we can make some magic happen. But honestly, in a perfect situation, nothing really should change. Some of your tasks change, some of your responsibilities change, but you are still a teacher. You're still there to serve and support others. You're still a facilitator of conversations. We talk about teachers needing to drift away from being the sage on the stage and the one with all of the answers. They're supposed to be the facilitator of questions. The same thing is true regardless of your title in a school. So if you saw those similarities, then I think that you are already ahead of the curve in realizing things that I probably didn't realize when I got my first administrative job. I thought I got my administrative job because of how amazing I was in my classroom. And I took that as an edict, like I had just been knighted, and my responsibility was to go make everybody else the same kind of teacher that I was, which is awful. But I know that's the situation that happens in a lot of schools, in a lot of places, that we all start to walk around with this extra little swagger in our step thinking, I'm so great because look, I have the mini fridge, so be like I was. As opposed to just helping people embrace who they are. And that, again, that's the role of teachers, is to look at the students that we serve. And instead of going at it with this deficit mentality of trying to figure out all the flaws our kids have, trying to accentuate their strengths and figure out where they are and their passions and helping them become the best versions of themselves.
Yeah, it's funny because you both, in your answers, kind of shared very similar mentalities of the way a teacher looks at the students and needing to differentiate and make sure that you're reaching all of your learners is a similar way any leader should look at anybody in which they serve, just trying to be, as supportive and individual as possible, which I think is wonderful. I've worked for a number of different leaders, and the ones that really took the time to get to know me and understand my strengths are the ones that I liked working for the most, or the ones I worked the hardest for, which you will see in students all the time.
Absolutely. I think oftentimes as leaders, focusing to the leaders by title, the principals, assistant principals, superintendents, district people, they see themselves as these managers with some leadership responsibilities. And they start to think their only teaching responsibilities are staff meetings or professional development. But in the reality, every single moment is a teachable moment. Just like as a classroom teacher, when students are doing independent work, if they're working on self-paced curriculum or mastery-based instruction, even when they're independently working, you are there to teach, support, facilitate, and guide them. And it's the same thing for leaders, and we just have to embrace that.
Well, Dave, I know we only have you here for a few more minutes. I want to, give a shout out to Rae, who I know is very active in our admin mastermind. As we get started, I want to talk about the admin mastermind, but first, I'd really like for everybody to go over to their phone or their computer, whatever they're watching, and give a rating out of 10 of Dave's shirt. I think that really is appropriate. Pending the best shirt on the planet, maybe he should live in it, never take it off again. One, maybe it needs to be retired somewhere in the back closet. So we really would love to see your rating of his shirt. But as we get into that, Dave, this course really supported a lot of the work you do, not only for the team, but really in your role as the facilitator of the admin mastermind. Would you share just a little bit? Because I know that's actually why you have to leave this afternoon or this morning, is you have got a mastermind session with educators, and just to hear in a little bit.
Yeah, the mastermind group is absolutely amazing. Probably the most fun I've had as an educator in my 21 years is hanging out with these other school leaders twice every Tuesday. And to be honest with you, if there are any of the masterminds that take the course, they're going to see a lot of their thoughts and ideas embedded within it, because I joined the mastermind so that I can steal from other people. There are some amazing leaders around this world, and every Tuesday I get to just hang out with those that show up and share their wisdom. And like you said, in 15 minutes or so, I get to go hang out with another batch of 30 or so administrators that are just going to drop the mic and share tons of wisdom. So I'm excited. And hold on, 9.2 on the shirt? A 9.2? Come on.
If you're listening to the Daily Drop-In after the fact as a bonus episode of Teach Better Talk podcast, you're not seeing the comments appear on the screen right now. So far, it's a 9.2. You've gotten 2 10s, which I think is really good. And Alex went all out. I know, Brian, we know Alex. He's an educator in Illinois. He gave you a 12. So that's pretty good.
And that's without having a tie on. Alex gave me a 12. I'll take it.
That's solid.
Yeah. Do you think that we should go through and rate our outfits too? Because I feel like Dave already won. Like I don't feel like I need a rating on my black sweater. What do you think? Probably not good.
You know, Dave, we've given you like a nice canvas as a backdrop for just as like, you know, like when you go and you get your glamour shot, you know, like back in the day, like we're just giving you, you know, a nice canvas so you can pop. Because it's your day, it's your course.
I appreciate that.
You know?
I appreciate that. It's sort of like we're Penn and Teller, right? One of us gets to do all the talking, the other one sits there and does the magic, right? So
right.
I appreciate that.
Can I be the one that sits and does the magic? That's all I want. Okay.
You can be the one we saw in half, right? How's that?
That's fine. That's perfect. We should also preface, if you're not watching the Daily Drop-In live, we hope you do in the future. However, Dave's shirt, just to confirm, is purple with beautiful watermelons and palm trees, which in my mind fully represents the outside weather that you have right now, doesn't it?
Sure. That's why I'm wearing it, because the beautiful snowfall. What represents snow better than watermelons and palm trees? Yep.
I love it. I love it.
Dave, I want to know how old that shirt is.
No, you don't.
I just bought it yesterday.
This is a new version. Yeah, actually, I just bought it last week, but I'll share some more. I think I'm doing another one of the, when I hang out with Jeff tomorrow afternoon. I'll have something similar.
Nice.
I don't know how I feel about this, Alex. Alex says Rae, solid 8. Whoa! And Brian gets an 8.5. Not okay.
Alex, I haven't worn a tie as a principal in years, buddy. So I like the business casual look. I would love to be able to have the confidence to pull off the Dr. Dave.
Oh, yeah.
You should see the socks I'm wearing today too. I mean, it's yeah, right. Yeah, maybe I'll save that for something special later on.
Okay, this is most important. Brian, Rae gave me a 19 out of 10, and you only got a 15. That I want documented. Somebody take a screenshot, quick.
Yeah. Well, you guys share the same name.
I know, right? Like match made in heaven. Love it. Dave, I know that you need to head over to the admin mastermind. You do such incredible work, and I just want to thank you for, like, obviously the work that you do for the team, but truly, I'm so thrilled the course is out. I love all content you are involved in, and so this was a big celebration for me personally. I joked yesterday on a podcast that we recorded for Teach Better Talk that this is kind of a bucket list to, like, have Dave Schmittou do a course in Teach Better Academy. So thank you for your work. And for anybody listening, you guys have to go check it out over at teachbetteracademy.com. If you're already a member, then it's like already in your courses. You'll see it right up at the top. But otherwise, you can grab it over there on its own or become a member and get it for $9 a month. So it's kind of simple.
That's awesome.
I'm so stoked.
Well, Rae, I wanted to say thank you to you and the entire team, really. This is going to be a bad example, but in a way, I kind of feel like I'm like James Earl Jones on this. I'm just a voiceover guy, and I got to talk throughout but you helped develop a lot of the content and the graphics, and then Jeff doing the editing and Chad throwing some of his ideas in it. And literally, I'm just the voice. So I appreciate the team effort in all this, and I'm excited to see what happens.
So fun. Well, Dave, have fun on the mastermind, because we're going to spend a few more minutes here. As we get into the rest of our daily drop-in, guys, I just want to give a shout out. Anybody who wants to ask questions, Brian and I will be live for a bit longer to take your questions, talk shop about education. Feel free to throw your stuff in the comments, and Dave, we'll see you later. We really appreciate you, and congrats again, Brian.
What if I was just gone?
You think you would just like ditch out on the daily drop-in? We know that you're excited to be here. You wouldn't just peace out. Come on.
No way. I would never ghost the daily drop-in.
Ghost the daily drop-in. I feel like that would be the worst choice to start off your morning. That would be your reputation all day long.
No, you can't do it. Can't do it.
I do have to say, I appreciate you coming on the daily drop-in to not only celebrate Dave, but then to also hang out with me when Dave ditched us, because, Dave's such a popular person. He can only give us, 20-minute chunks of his time. And so as he like runs to his next meeting, it could have just been me here like twiddling my thumbs. I really appreciate that you are gracing us with your time.
I have a secret. I think I'm going to drop in the mastermind when we're done here. You should too.
I think you should. It's a great collection of educators. You've joined it a bunch. You're like a regular.
I love the mastermind. Sometimes, because it's like a 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Sometimes I can't do an 8 Central, but it's fun.
Yeah, thankfully I do want to share, because I was actually just talking to an educator in the UK and we were comparing when the times are. And for those of you who haven't joined the mastermind, there's one in the morning, which is happening in just here in 10 minutes at 9 a.m. Eastern, but there's also one in the evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. So depending on the type of educator you are, depending on the meetings you might have for that day, you could switch it up. You could join one, you could join both. There just is a lot of variety. And every time I'm able to pop in, it's so much fun. Dave does incredible work. And I'm thrilled that he was able to bring a lot of his background in leadership into not only the mastermind, but also obviously the course and everything else that came with it. So kind of stoked. There's also, I don't know if you know this, Bryan, I might be like spilling secrets I should be talking about, but the course launches today. And then there's a blog series that launches this weekend, which is just going to be another support. So I really appreciate the work that a lot of educators are doing to just have conversations around being strong leaders. I think that's incredibly important right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that blog series that I know Carrie supports and does a great job with that.
She does.
The thing that I think is fantastic about the Teach Better team and the work that you do is it's so consumable in ways that however you learn, if you want to be in a mastermind, if you want to take a course, if you want to read a blog, if you want to, browse a site, it's differentiated really for you. There's so many different modalities, and then obviously the in-person stuff that you guys rock at as well too. It's just awesome. It's so great for educators to be able to get as much out of professional learning and their networks as they want. You guys are just killing it.
Well, I appreciate it. I am very excited. We have some time now. And Bryan, I have so many different things that I like to pick your brain about. You know that I call you constantly with, it's like, hey, how are you? But I'm not really asking because I have like 5 or 6 other questions I need to pick your brain on. But a lot of what I'd love to discuss is not only obviously your passion for being a leader, which is absolutely something that I've been able to watch you do for years and years, but you also have a lot of passion in helping educators be connected educators, in supporting schools share their story. And I really want to get into all that. I do want to give a shout out to all people that are live with us right now. Welcome to the Daily Drop-In. Do not forget that this is truly a conversation, a safe space to ask questions and brainstorm through hurdles and really build community. So I see that we already have some questions in the chat that we will get to here soon. But if you have a question about leadership, about anything education, about the Teach Better team, about Bryan, I know you're doing incredible things we could talk about. Feel free to throw them in the chat. We will be live here trying to answer as many questions as possible as you kind of kick off your day. I know, Bryan, when does your school day begin? When are students in-house?
In-house is remote right now.
Yes, in-house.
So we are on our second stint of remote.
Okay.
About the first 8 weeks of school, 9 weeks of school, we were full remote.
Okay.
And that was basically about an 8 to 3 day.
Okay.
And then for 5 weeks, we were hybrid. And now post-Thanksgiving until mid-January, we are remote. So one campus is a 7:45 start. The other campus is an 8 o'clock start.
So maybe let's start there. I have a lot of different questions in my head. I should have written these down and ordered them for us. But let's start with basics. I mean, geez, you are a principal kind of leading through this. I don't know. It's been quite a year, like at 2020, not maybe it's been fun, but how's that been for you as a leader, essentially needing to change every 15 seconds seemingly to support your staff, support your students? How are you feeling?
I'm tired, for one. But there's a lot of joy out there. Somebody I was talking to the other day, we were talking about how this is the most amount of work we've ever done, but it also feels like we've accomplished nothing. Yeah. And it was one of those things where we're like, well, wait a minute, what have we accomplished? We're supporting our kids, we're supporting our teachers, we're supporting our communities, we're sharing as much information as we possibly can. We're in a situation where it's not like an argument about how you're doing school. It's really a dialogue about how you're doing school. And at the end of the day, like, there's a lot of opinions on how we should do school. I've been kind of following, what's going on in New York public schools right now. It's not necessarily about who's right. It's just about, okay, here's the decision that was made. How do we support you through it? So, if you're working with a group of teachers who are absolutely, I'm so happy that kids are here, and then you have a group of teachers who are nervous about that, which is totally respectable and normal. You gotta support everybody. And as a leader, I think what our teachers are looking for is people to be consistent, people to be supportive, checking in on their mental health, their well-being, and kind of going from there. That should be the basis of how leadership is working any one year, but in a pandemic, it's got to be based on, how are you doing and how can I help?
Yeah, I think consistency is key. I don't know that I realized that, and I'm so appreciative of my principal, the leadership that I work with.
Are you talking to Eagle Nation?
I love Eagle Nation.
I know you love. I know you love Eagle Nation.
I do. I love my school, but I think that consistency piece is absolutely the approach that the leadership that I work for took. And at the time, I was like, "Oh, that's nice." And then, as you kind of have seen the months go by and the things change and everything in between, it's been unbelievable how much consistency has helped your mental processing, throughout the pandemic. I really appreciative the approach of having leadership be a constant. It's been really wonderful kind of watching the experience from a teacher's perspective, knowing that there's a lot of things going on in the office that I don't really have to worry about because they have it handled. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the one thing that when you talk about consistency is, everybody's a lesson planner. And you try to set up a plan, and am I planning for kids to be here? Am I planning for kids not to be here? That uncertainty piece of, hey, what's going to happen at the next meeting where a decision is going to be made? Right. The more you could just be transparent and say it could be this or it could be this. If we go down this road, here's how we're going to support you. If we go down that road, here's how we're going to support you. But the support is the constant, over and over again.
No, I couldn't agree more. And it's been really interesting watching it from a teacher's lens and obviously being a part of some of those conversations with my role in the Teach Better team. But I think you really hit the nail on the head, that consistency. And you know what? That goes wonderfully with a lot of conversations we've been having from the classroom lens of needing to set up routines and consistency for students. I mean, all the things really do blend together. We're getting some questions in the comments. I'm going to go over here to see your thoughts on these. And then don't let me forget, we got to talk about the work that you did with your doctorate of helping schools share their story. I think that that's so important in general, but exceptionally important right now, especially as we move into winter break. So that is definitely on the docket. We have our first question here that's asking for the best advice for teachers trying to be instructional coaches. And I think, Bryan, if I'm reading this correctly, let me know what your thoughts are. It's really kind of advice if I'm in a teacher role, how do I transition into instructional coaches? That's how I read this. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know who wrote it because it's an anonymous.
I can look. Go ahead.
But in my mind, if you want to be an instructional coach, you already are one. And I think that, as you work and support the people around you and helping people get better, you don't need that title to be one. Some districts have coaches, some districts don't have coaches. Who was that shout out? Did you figure it out?
Yeah, Ryan Reed.
Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
If you want that official kind of role and title, I think you're going to go through some sort of interview process. But my point to if you are thinking about being one, you already are one. That interview process has started long ago. It's how you are interacting with other teachers, how you're inviting people into your classroom, how you're sharing, how you're supporting, how you're coaching really, really right now. And then I think the other piece too is adult learners are a lot different than adolescent learners. And knowing, a little bit about adult learning theory, learning about how to pace people out, how to pace out some initiatives, how to support initiatives, how to create your own initiatives. Those are all, recommendations, for thinking about if you want to go into that role. It's an awesome role. I've worked with amazing instructional coaches that really do a great job working with teachers.
Brian, it's funny. I mean, obviously we're talking a little bit formally here, but you and I have side conversations all the time. And something that we've discussed numerous times is the idea of, well, it's usually when we talk about like dress for the job you want, not for the job you have.
Right.
Obviously, we're not talking about clothing right now, but this idea of wanting to work towards becoming an instructional coach, actually beginning years and months before, where you're really taking on the opportunity to learn what that role's about, and then taking the initiative that, even though you may not have the title, to help and coach and provide feedback and reflect and learn from those around you, kind of along the same lines of, really having that vision and kind of taking the ownership of it, whether you have the title or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the number one thing that people will learn about with coaching is it really comes down to trust. You're going to work with people that you have to have that strong relationship and that trust with. And then I think the other thing too is to understand that not everybody is going to understand what an instructional coach does. And knowing that you're going to be in a situation where you might be around some believers and early adopters of why they need coaching, and in some people they may have a mindset that they don't need coaching, and there's plenty of staff to work with, and I kind of early on in that role you'll see just kind of what that ecosystem looks like in terms of who is interested in coaching. And I think the number one thing from the beginning is to understand that this is a voluntary relationship. And coaching with teachers really needs to be that voluntary relationship.
No, I totally agree. One of my favorites here, Erin just posted a question. I know that her name didn't show up either. Erin just got married. So she used to be Erin Hall. Now she's Erin Haley, which I'm still a little bitter about. If you've listened to Teach Better Talk podcast, we had an entire introduction podcast where I just complained that Erin Hall changing her name just seemed to mess me up a bunch. Erin's a great educator in Rhode Island, doing really, really good things, actually focused on helping new teachers find their voice, their leadership in building. So I always love when she contributes. She says, what recommendations do you have for teachers advocating for social and emotional support in their district or communities? Are you guys doing work in, this type of area right now? Or is it kind of like content? Like, we're in a high school. So I feel like, content has a different weight in a high school than really anywhere else.
I don't know if
it seems like I put you on the spot. I didn't mean that.
No,
I was kidding. I was kidding.
Every place content is important,
You're
but
right.
It's not important than, to me, it's not important than anybody else's, mental health. You can catch up on content. What you can't catch up on is mental health. And I've always thought, like, people say I need a mental health day, and people say I need a mental health day when they've gone so far or they've taken so much time away from mental health that it's like it doesn't work in the sense that if you sleep Sunday until 3 p.m., it's not like you catch up on sleep and then you're going to be good for the rest of the week. It's just not how it works. And I think about one of the contributors to Teach Better team, Brian Faulkner writes a lot about self-care and mental health. The guy's outstanding in that area. I think the best recommendations that I can have for teachers advocating for social emotional health is taking the time for themselves every single day. Just because you have it scheduled on your time, hey, I need to meet from this time to this time with my PLC. Maybe today you don't. Maybe today you're fried. Maybe today you take a walk. Maybe today you do something different. Having that self-care piece. We just did an institute right prior to Thanksgiving, and the 2-hour session on it was all about self-care. a self care plan, kind of looking inward, talking with people, kind of creating accountability partners. I think it's just important that it's. I mean, I can't. I'd love to hear from people in the Facebook comments. I'm certain that you've got emails from your higher ups that have started with, "Hello, I hope you are doing well." And yeah, it's a nice intro to an email that I hope you're doing well, but I don't want to hope that people are doing well. I want to make sure that they're doing well. And the more that you're around your people, the way that your assistant principals, your department chairs, or your teacher leaders, or whoever's working with the people that are in the classroom need to really recognize that before you want them to do something, you have to check on them to see if they're doing okay. And this year, it's a lot about honesty. I have sat with more people this year that have been in tears, than ever before. I know that a lot of times, on social media, it's just the glossed over perfect view of how things are going, and I like the raw honesty piece. This is hard. This is hard. This is probably the hardest thing that we have ever done in education before. And I think, just right from the beginning is districts and communities have to recognize that our teachers, our counselors, our social workers, our secretaries, everybody is doing the very best they can. And we are literally building the airplane while we're flying it every single day. That's the way it is this year. And I think the more honest we are about that, the better.
Well, and I think it's interesting because a lot of our conversation, whether it be about this topic or anything else, has been about transparency and consistency. And so as we're looking into, this question of what recommendations do you have for teachers advocating for social and emotional support in their districts and communities, it's about communicating, being transparent, explaining, educating our communities, as well as it's, trying to find the supports and routines for ourselves to put in place to stay sane, for the lack of a better word, to stay, trying to operate at the highest level we possibly can. And that's not easy to do. I know Lindsay Titus, I'm going to just refer back to her daily drop-in shoot last week, where, there's little strategies you have to choose to put in place to make sure that you get the support that you need. And it's kind of this mentality of, whether people hand it to you or not, like truly, truly putting those routines in place to help you be successful throughout the day, not feel completely burned out by the end of the day. It's important. So it's good communication for sure. I'm thinking back to a blog. I don't know why this one sticks in my head, Bryan, so I apologize. You wrote a blog ages ago for the Teach Better team. I have no idea why it's like in my brain, but I remember doing the graphic for it because I liked the title so much. And it was Mindful or Mindful. And I was, when I read the title, I remember being like, ooh, I want to read that blog. Do you remember the blog that I'm referring to at all?
I do. And it was more about, being able to recognize that your mindfulness is a key in your success. And when your mind is overfull, and I see it in the comments, and I hear this comment a lot, my plate is full and I can't handle one more thing on the plate. And I don't, I mean this in the most compassionate way possible. We're always going to have things on our plate. There's way too much on our plate. Public education, got way out of hand years ago that we're taking on things that, are community-based issues or society issues or whatever the case may be, but it's on our plate. And we say those things that we have too much on our plate when we recognize, that maybe we don't have the capacity to handle that type of thing at this point. And I think that's why, it's important that people set up some sort of self-care, routine. And that's what I talk about with people a lot is, what do you do, not just prior to work, because people will have some sort of workout routine, or I do yoga in the morning, or I take a walk with the dogs. And then they talk about what they have in the evening. Some people have kids, some people don't have kids. This is when they do work. This is when they not do work. Self-care can take place during the school day. It has to. You cannot go constantly from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock without interacting with somebody, without laughing with somebody, without taking a break, without looking at your phone. It's unreasonable to think that you're going to go immediately from 8 to 3 every second. And that's why this is so draining. I mean, we make thousands upon thousands of decisions a day. You get, I don't know. Rae, how many emails do you get a day as a classroom teacher?
More than I'd like to admit.
Right. And I think some people this year, I've told them, take the email off your phone. Take it off your phone. And I'm a person that if I have that notification, I need to clear it. That's how I work. But now I've learned how to send that notification to a Google task and deal with it, within a 24 to 48 hour period.
So does it stress you out that I have 54 unread emails right now? Is that like a no, not Bryan approved?
You know what? Early Bryan in leadership would say not Bryan approved. Does it work for you? Then it works.
Can I tell you, like, it's all spam right now. Like, I haven't gone through and deleted all the spam. It's all like the Cyber Monday deals and stuff like that. So maybe it's okay then.
Have you bought anything on Cyber Monday?
Oh, have I bought anything on Cyber Monday? Now we've completely derailed this conversation.
No, this is a good conversation to have.
I bought my father a gift on Cyber Monday, but I can't say it because he might watch. So,
He's not. You think he's watching?
Well, no, but my mother did make an appearance last week, so you never know where the Jim and Julie show up. Let me tell you. Mm-hmm.
So you bought your dad something for the holidays on Cyber Monday.
What did you buy for Cyber Monday?
The Banana Republic has 30% off right now, so you had to you can't just let that go. Everybody knows that.
I mean, it would be like illegal to not buy something. It just seems appropriate. Mm-hmm.
I think so.
I think so.
Do
you think that you have an addiction to shopping? Is that something that you want to confess live on camera with everyone?
Retail therapy is a real thing.
I believe it. So I definitely enjoyed that. But yeah, it's funny when you talk about emails because I'm the worst sometimes at checking my email constantly throughout the day. So I totally understand the drive to at least want to look at what the email is and then decide, okay, I can wait on this. Or if I feel like I can't wait on that email, then why am I feeling this sudden urge to respond? Because sometimes knowing why the urgency exists helps you rationalize if the urgency is real or not, if that makes sense.
I did something prior to Thanksgiving that I don't think I've ever done as a leader. And I shared with all our department chairs, our assistant principals, our administrators, and I said, here's 3 examples of an away message for Thanksgiving break.
Ooh.
And use them if you want to use them. Give them to your teachers if you want to give them to your teachers. But you got to unplug. And some, one of the comments in here is, taking time for yourself. But sometimes, teachers need that permission as well too, because that's just how we're wired. Yeah. And if you see the email, you want to handle the email. And a lot of people will say, well, if I don't do it now, I'll just, perseverate in it and I'll think about it. But I know a great amount of people use that over break. And I kind of hope that they continue that over long breaks, even the weekends. Go ahead.
But think about the difference of kind of what we've been talking about and this example here. It's different to say, I hope you take time for yourself. I hope you're doing well. It's very different to provide people the tool, the support that gives them exact permission to do it, right? So it's great to say, hey, don't worry about email over Thanksgiving break. And we're like, oh, but. And then when you send an email that says, here's an example of an away message you could be using, it really gives a different permission to say, wow, I can copy and paste this and have this done. And it feels very different. It's a great opportunity to really take it one step further and have people feel a little bit more secure with making the decision to step away.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to step away. This is not a job that, you punch a clock, or when you leave you're done. It's just not that way. And obviously with more technology, you have more access. I mean, obviously look at what we're doing right now with remote education. So you can work all the time
Yep.
if you let yourself work all the time. But I don't know. I think there's some studies out there, and I don't exactly will quote this, but I think anything over working 52 hours a week, you start becoming unproductive. Do you work over 52 hours a week, Rae?
I don't know. I'm not admitting to that. I do want to talk about your blog series, though. I mentioned a blog that you wrote for the Teach Better team. I truly don't know. This could have been your first blog, that Mindful versus Mindful blog that I really enjoyed. Now you have a series that you do at teachbetter.com that's all about connections, which I really, really enjoy. And that does relate to the work that you were doing, not only as a leader, but also in your doctoral program. And the only reason I feel so dedicated to the topic of your doctoral program is because I heard you talk about it for so stinking long every time you called me.
Sorry.
Stupid topic. No, just kidding. But it really was a fascinating focus on how we are sharing our stories to our communities. And you know that I'm a huge advocate for educators, informing and partnering with their communities, that then looking at the social media component from a school level, sharing a story and kind of like celebrating the students within the school really was interesting. Do you mind sharing, do you have a not a summary, but like a tip or trick that you can kind of highlight as educators, you kind of move into their day on this Tuesday, of the types of things they should or could be sharing out going on in schools right now?
Sure. We talked a lot about my dissertation, and I'm sorry, and I owe you. What we typically do in education is we pour our heart and soul into everything that we do, our plans, the way we interact with kids, and then they go home and their parents ask them, "How was school?" And they say, "Fine." "What'd you do today?" "Nothing." "Do you have any homework?" "I already did it." And you can take 8 hours and reduce it to less than a 30-second conversation. So most often, if you think about the newsletter, if you're a parent receiving it from your school, if you are a teacher and you see what your principal or your soup is putting out, your communications director, depending on how big a place it is, typically what goes out to the community is often logistic-based information. When is school? When is not school? We have a late start this day. We have, no school on this day because it's Labor Day. That typical, just, solid communication.
Okay.
And then the other thing that typically goes out to families is the stories about like extracurriculars, athletics, fine arts. And then within that is usually really only the stories of winners. And that's all we really send out to our public: logistics and what happens after school. And so we have this whole chunk of time where we're doing what we're doing, we're proud of what we're doing, but we don't tell anybody what we're doing. And I think it's a very humble profession. Teachers don't typically, administrators don't typically, counselors don't typically want to send something out about what they're doing. And I think the more we talk about curriculum, the more we talk about collaboration, the more we talk about how we're being a supportive, equitable environment, will help our community understand that we are working in the schools now that we didn't go to. So our parents have their experience of going through K-12 education or beyond. Well, that's not the schools that we lead or teach in anymore. And so, a parent may see us a principal as maybe the face of the school or in charge of the school, but that can't be any further from the case. And I think that's what Dave Schmittou's course is going to be about, and it already is. You're not the leader of the school. There are 30, 50 leaders in your school, and you're running kind of an interdependent team or a flattened model of leadership, where you have to tell that story somewhere so that people don't just believe, okay, wait, there's no school because it's, such and such date, or the football team is playing tonight, and we could do so much better than what we're sharing, and that's what the dissertation was about. I took three very high performing high schools in Illinois, awesome schools, great ecosystems, great scores on tests, great scores on all the surveys, and found the same type of thing, logistics and extracurriculars. And I know the one thing that teachers worry a lot about are kind of that uncivil response back.
Yeah, people are very nervous about getting mean comments and stuff like that.
Well, and what I found was that's not happening on a teacher's account. That's not happening on the school's account. It's happening. There's plenty of keyboard warriors out there, no doubt. But that type of stuff typically happens in closed Facebook groups. I could assure you, your school and your teachers are being talked about in a lot of places. But that shouldn't change the fact that if you're killing it in the classroom or you're proud of a colleague or a student, share it, because the more we can, kind of help people understand what it is that we do, the more support we're going to get. And not excessive positivity. Not everything's perfect. And certainly in the pandemic, you have to be honest with people. This is hard. This work is nearly impossible. But the more we explain, what we're doing, the better.
No, it's a huge point. Absolutely. I really love this topic because I think the more we can share our stories, the better. And a lot of the work, we even wrote about it in Teachers Deserve It, is, teachers' voices deserve to be heard. Yep. But if teachers aren't sharing their voice, then there's nothing for anybody to hear. And so I really loved the comment that we just had up, that somebody said, such a good point. We tend to gloss over the most important parts of our day. And so I want to challenge all of you this morning as we kind of conclude our daily drop-in, go share something incredible that happens today, whether it's an aha moment or a great collaboration or a discussion or a student conference or anything in between. Make sure that you are sharing more than just logistics, because school is more than just logistics. And I so appreciate all that you've done, Bryan, to highlight this, and the support that you give teachers all the time, school leaders all the time, to make sure that they are representing their school authentically in a virtual setting, especially during all of this stuff in 2020. Would you mind sharing, if people haven't been connected to you, Bryan, I know you've had your Twitter handle up on the screen, would you kind of share how people can stay connected? Because you are constantly connecting with people and constantly sharing ideas and reflecting and learning from others. I'd love for people to connect with you on all your social media platforms.
Sure. The at Bryan Zwemke is the same one for Twitter and for Instagram. Feel free to give me a follow or send me a direct message. I'm fortunate that Rae allows me to blog for the Teach Better team. So I have
Carrie who lets you blog. Carrie lets you blog.
Yeah. So I'm fortunate that you guys keep me in the family.
So fun.
And I think the reality is, and I think a lot of people know this, we become better educators because we're involved in professional learning networks, and Teach Better team is amongst the best, if not the best. So, catch me on Twitter, catch me on Instagram. Every once in a while when Rae runs out of people, she'll bring me on the daily drop-in too. So
stop.
Sometimes she double books, and
that's not true. I do everything perfectly all the time. My students know that. I never make mistakes. No. That is horrible. I did ask them yesterday during something wasn't working on a Google Meet, shocker to everybody. And I was like, okay, this is my one mistake of the day. And a student unmutes and goes, I think it was the 27th.
Nice.
Was great. For everyone else, please go connect with Bryan. Bryan, thank you for celebrating Dave Schmittou's brand new course available at teachbetteracademy.com. Leading by Empowering. It's an incredible course. I absolutely got a sneak peek, and I know I'm biased because you guys know I'm Team Schmittou, but I'm so excited for us to have a leadership course focused on empowering those around you. Dave is a genius. Anything he touches is gold. And I was so excited to celebrate with him. Obviously, having you, Bryan, was a massive highlight of the morning. I feel like we can all kick off our Tuesday strong. And for everyone else, remember that you can catch the Daily Drop-In every single morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 8:30 Eastern AM as we dive into a number of different questions that you guys bring to the table and bring in guests to share their voice and hopefully make us a little bit better today than we were yesterday and a little bit better than we were the day before. So very, very much appreciate it, Bryan. Thank you for joining us. And for everyone else, happy Tuesday. Bye, guys.